You've been lied to about your suffering. You hit the goals they told you would fulfill you, yet feel nothing. You get promoted, and somehow you're more tired, not more free. You chase progress, and it just makes the next milestone move further away. And still, you blame yourself for not being more grateful. This isn't failure, it's a trap. One so old, we've forgotten it's a trap at all. They told you struggle builds character, that if you just keep pushing, it will all make sense someday. That your exhaustion is proof you're doing it right. And so you keep going, through the pressure, the debt, the expectations, believing there's meaning in the grind. But what if there isn't? Every day, millions wake up and push invisible boulders, their careers, their debt, their image, their guilt, because someone convinced them there's nobility in the strain. That if they hate the process, the flaw must be in them, not the process. They taught you to love the weight that's breaking you. They say we must imagine Sisyphus happy. But what if that's the most dangerous lie ever told? Before I expose the beautiful deception that's kept generations willingly chained to their rocks, let's revisit the myth. Not as ancient history, but as the blueprint for your daily life. Sisyphus was the man who outsmarted death itself. When Thanatos came for him, Sisyphus tricked the god, chained him up. For a brief, glorious moment, no one on earth died. The gods, those architects of limitation, couldn't tolerate such rebellion. So they crafted the perfect punishment, meaningless, endless labor. Push a boulder up a mountain, watch it roll back down, repeat for eternity. Your exhaustion isn't coincidence, it's design. Think of that moment when the rock balances at the peak, that fraction of a second when accomplishment hovers. Then, the inevitable betrayal. The rock rolls back down. How many times have you felt that exact moment in your own life? In 1942, as the world burned in war, philosopher Albert Camus transformed this ancient torture into something revolutionary. In the myth of Sisyphus, he offered humanity this proposition. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Let that sink in. In a universe without meaning, where all our struggles end in death, our only rebellion is to acknowledge the absurdity and continue anyway, to find joy in the struggle itself. By accepting the boulder, by smiling while we bleed, we somehow win. For decades, this idea has comforted millions who suffer. It gave dignity to soul-crushing routines. It transformed meaningless labor into philosophical rebellion. But I need you to ask yourself something right now. If the gods condemned Sisyphus to push a boulder eternally, and Sisyphus decides to smile while doing exactly what they demanded, who has really won? Stop romanticizing the cage just because you decorated it. Look at your life, not tomorrow, not someday, right now. How many boulders are you pushing that aren't even yours? The career that devours more hours every year. The social media presence requiring constant performance. The standards of living that keep rising as your energy depletes. We've built an entire civilization on boulder pushing. We call it hustle culture, grit, resilience. We celebrate those who work themselves to exhaustion while pretending to love every minute. Find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life, they tell us, creating a generation that feels guilty for not experiencing euphoria while their souls bleed out. Your suffering isn't noble, it's monetized. The self-help industry doesn't exist to free you from your rock. It exists to sell you better techniques for pushing it, better schedules, better mindsets, better comparisons to make you grateful your boulder isn't bigger. Have you ever noticed how the people selling work-life balance are making millions from your imbalance? When was the last time a productivity hack actually made you free? When has managing your time better ever given you back your life? Imagine a man drowning in the ocean. Instead of throwing him a rope, we sell him books, on how to appreciate the beauty of water filling his lungs. We teach him to find meaning in his drowning. We call his desperate gasps for air personal growth. That's what we've done with Camus's philosophy. Endurance isn't power, choice is. The most perfect systems of control don't make you miserable. Those you eventually revolt against. No, the most insidious prisons are those that convince you your chains are actually wings, that your limitations are actually freedom, that your suffering is actually growth. What if Camus's beautiful idea, this notion that we rebel by accepting absurdity, is actually keeping you locked in systems you should be burning to the ground? You call it wisdom. But what if it's fear? What if finding meaning in suffering is easier than fighting to end the suffering itself? What if Camus gave you a coping mechanism when you needed a revolt? Let me be clear. Camus was brilliant. His ideas helped countless people survive unbearable darkness. But surviving isn't the same as living. The system doesn't fear your resilience, it banks on it. Picture a ladder. You've been climbing it your entire life. Each rung another achievement, another year of service, another milestone. You climb faster, better, longer than those around you. You're proud of your progress. But what if I told you the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall? That no matter how high you climb, you'll never reach what you're actually searching for? That's what Camus missed. Why do we work longer hours than medieval peasants despite our technological miracles? Why does your productivity increase while your freedom diminishes? Why is burnout treated as your personal failure rather than evidence of a broken system? The modern Sisyphus doesn't push his rock because the gods decreed it. He does it because his health care is tied to his job, because his self-worth has been linked to his productivity, because he's been conditioned to believe that suffering is the price of worthiness. Camus told us to find freedom within our limitations, but he never questioned who profits from those limitations in the first place. Who gets rich from your exhaustion? Who gains power from your acceptance? Who remains comfortable because you've decided to find meaning in your discomfort? The gods didn't curse you. The system did. The truth no one wants to tell you. Accepting absurdity might be easier than challenging it. Finding meaning in meaningless suffering requires less courage than demanding a world where suffering itself is reduced. The greatest trick isn't convincing you that happiness is impossible. It's convincing you that your unhappiness is profound. How much of your daily suffering is truly inevitable? How much of what you push uphill every day exists only because you've been convinced it must? What Camus missed is that true rebellion isn't smiling while you bleed. True rebellion is questioning why you're bleeding at all. I want you to imagine something with me. Picture Sisyphus at the bottom of his mountain. The boulder looms before him as it has for eternity. His shoulders bear the scars of countless journeys. But today is different. Today, Sisyphus does the unthinkable. He walks away. He turns his back on the boulder, on the mountain, on the punishment designed to break him. He simply stops participating in his own torture. The gods have no power over those who refuse to play by their rules. This is the rebellion Camus couldn't fully articulate. Not accepting absurdity, rejecting it entirely, not finding dignity within a broken system, but walking away to create something new. What would happen if you stopped pushing? The job that drains more than it gives. The social obligations that exhaust rather than nourish. The standards of success you never consented to measuring yourself against. What if freedom isn't accepting your fate, but rejecting the story entirely? Think of a hamster running on its wheel. Faster and faster it runs, muscles burning, heart racing, going nowhere. We could tell that hamster to find meaning in the run, to embrace the absurdity of the wheel. Or we could open the cage door. Think of it this way. You're not just pushing a boulder up a mountain. You're carving time from your finite existence to do it. Each push isn't just effort. It's moments of your one precious life that you'll never get back. The real rebellion isn't pushing harder or finding joy in the push. The real rebellion is asking, who said I need to push at all? In a world designed to keep you too tired to question, rest becomes revolutionary. In a culture obsessed with productivity, doing less becomes an act of defiance. In a society that measures worth by output, valuing your existence for its own sake becomes the ultimate transgression. You weren't born to be efficient. You were born to be alive. Freedom isn't found in accepting limitations. It's found in recognizing which limitations are illusions. The boulder has no power but what you give it. The mountain exists only as long as you climb it. You were never meant to carry the boulder forever. You were meant to live. For decades, we've found comfort in Camus' vision, Sisyphus aware of his fate, yet persisting with dignity. The condemned man finding sovereignty in his own consciousness, even as his body remains enslaved. Imagining Sisyphus happy kept us sane in an insane world. But what if sanity itself is the trap? What we need now isn't to imagine him happy. We need to imagine him free. Free from the boulder, free from the mountain, free from the punishment disguised as purpose. Ask yourself, what loop are you trapped in right now? What cycle of effort and disappointment repeats endlessly in your life? What boulder do you return to again and again, despite knowing exactly how the story ends? The most courageous act isn't how you endure pain. It's deciding which pain is no longer worth your life. The patterns in your life, they persist, not because fate decrees it, but because each time the boulder rolls back down, you dutifully return to push it up again. What would happen if next time you didn't? This isn't about surrender. It's about selective abandonment. It's about the courage to distinguish between meaningful struggle and manufactured suffering. Your worth isn't measured by how much you can endure. Your purpose isn't found in how artfully you suffer. Your rebellion isn't proven by smiling through pain. True rebellion is discernment. True freedom is the capacity to say, "This doesn't serve life. I will no longer participate." Some challenges are worth embracing. Those that build rather than deplete. Those freely chosen rather than imposed. Those that serve life rather than diminish it. But those aren't Sisyphus's boulder. Those aren't punishment, disguised as purpose. You were never cursed. You were conditioned. The most profound rebellion isn't finding happiness within constraints. It's dismantling the constraints themselves and building something new from the rubble. There's a moment in the original myth that's often overlooked. Before his punishment, when Sisyphus had chained up death itself, something extraordinary happened. No one died. The impossible became possible. What if that wasn't just a detail of the story, but its most important lesson? What if Sisyphus' true crime wasn't defying the gods, but showing us that their rules could be broken? Perhaps the gods feared him not because he was cunning, but because he revealed a truth they couldn't allow to spread, that their power existed only through our compliance. The boulder has rolled down the mountain countless times in your life. Each time you've returned to the bottom, resigned to push it up again. You've been told this is nobility. You've been told this is the human condition. But maybe, just maybe, the only reason the rock still rolls back is because you keep picking it up.